Hi, I'm Dan Ciamatero, writer and artist of Snot-Ball Comics. And this is Playing With Myself, the show where we talk toys. And today, we're playing with the Jakks Pacific Bowser Jr. with Clown Car from the Super Mario Galaxy movie. So, ready or not, let's whip it out. All right, kids, here he is, fresh out of the package. And as they say, comes with everything you see here. And in this case, you see quite a bit. You got the box here. We've got the iconic clown car. That comes with a very nice little display stand, as well as this trigger unit right here. We'll talk more about that in a bit. We've got the adorable little psychopath right here, Bowser Jr., and he comes, of course, armed with this little paintbrush here. And last of all, we've got these water-activated decals. They seem like they might be fun. Let's find out together as we dig a little deeper. Okay, guys, here we are. To start out with, we've got the clown car here. This is a pretty iconic piece. I think we first saw it in the Super Mario World game on the Super Nintendo. That's a fun game for me because that's the first Mario game I ever personally beat. The first game, I didn't even bother playing anything other than the first and fourth levels. The second game, I watched my brother beat one night. The third game, I played the shit out of that game, but I never ever could get through the 8th level all the way to the end. But once we got to Super Mario World, I beat it all the way to the end where I fought Bowser in this guy right here. So I'm pretty excited to have it in my collection, and let's take a little look at it. Like I said, we've got the iconic look right here. We've got the silver arms here that is molded in a silver plastic. We have the white plastic of the clown car itself, and of course we have all the paint apps on the front with the orange lips and the black eyes and the green cockpit unit up top. It's got some nice little rivets on it, and there's rivets going down the side. It looks like a nice little metal clown flying car, which of course has the propeller on the bottom. And that propeller goes pretty good if you spin it by hand, but there's another way to spin that, and we'll talk about it soon. Anyway, I'll put it back down on this display unit here. Now this is simply one white plastic piece, but it does have some rivet details on there going along with the metal motif of the whole unit itself. It is very nice looking. It'll keep it up in the air, which is what you like, and it'll store it really, really nicely in the rest of your collection. Now, before we move on, there are definitely some little details in the cockpit, which I think are pretty nice. We do have a very nice little cockpit unit. You've got a joystick here. We've got a second joystick right here. We've got a monitor and some buttons. And it also comes with 2 pedals on the bottom. I don't know what they're both for. I guess it's probably a gas and a brake. But there you go. And we've got that displayed quite nicely right there. Now, let's move on to the play feature. As I mentioned previously, we do have this nice little handle and trigger unit. And we're going to go ahead and turn this guy around. There's a little port there. We're going to lock that in with a nice satisfying click. And we've got movement on the hands here, as well as movement on the propeller. You can move the right hand, you can move the left hand, you can move them both at the same time if you squeeze the thing all the way down. Hours of entertainment for you and your family. Also, when it comes to these arms, there's another bit of articulation on there. For one, you can slightly move these claws They move both up and down on this unit, and also the claw itself will move on the finger. So you can get a little bit of movement there, which is pretty nice. And when it comes to the shoulder of this arm piece here, if you want to shoot them a little bit lower down, you can go ahead and pull this guy back. It is going to lock into place. You now have a shorter range of motion for that arm. And if you want to get it back up again, you just turn it till it clicks, and you've got it so that it could go right back with the other arm there. There are only 2 positions there, so you can move it back once, and you can move it forward once, and that's pretty much all you get there. But again, it looks like a pretty fun little piece, but if you're just going to display it like I am, you turn it back around, hit this big white button here, you can't miss it, pull this guy out, stick it off to the side. You're going to place this guy right back down on its stand here, show it to all the people at home, and then you're going to move on to that figure. And here we have him, gang, the breakout star of the Super Mario Galaxy movie. It isn't sexy-ass Rosalina with her fuck-me bangs. It's this little bastard right here. And check him out. Look at him in all of his mischievous glory. He's a pretty nice figure, just like all of these Mario figures have been. If you're a big cartoon fan, you really can't do much better than these figures. They're really nice in your collection. But anyway, here he is from the front. Here he is from the back with his spiny turtle shell there. Can't have a Bowser figure without it. And we'll turn him back around and we'll start looking at the details here. And the details on this guy are all really nice. They're all mostly made out of molded plastic. There's very few paint apps that I can tell on here. So to start with, you've got this little tuft of orange hair, and that is molded out of the orange plastic. It is held in by its little band there. Again, that's black plastic there. We have the green on here, which is a bit of a lime green. And that is going to be painted here where we've got the flesh tone for the mouth and the cheeks. And that's also going to be painted where we have that same color on the horns there. Plus the horn has a nice little orange ring around it. As for the eyebrows themselves, though, they also appear to be made out of that orange plastic, so that's really nice. Now here he does have his little tied-on COVID mask. Now that does not come off. I kind of tried to move it a little bit, but I also looked down in there and I could see a pretty visible line of the glue there, so I don't think this comes off. I think there is another variant of this figure. However, I've not looked at it well enough to know if he does have his full face, but I would go ahead and assume that if they're going to package one alone without the clown car, he probably is a variant where you can take the mask off at least, or maybe doesn't come with it at all. I don't know. I didn't buy that one. I'm not going to. I've got this guy, and he's really nice. And you can see on his bandana here, there is a bandana pattern on here. We've got these nice little sort of flowery patterns or sort of nature patterns here. But on the front, of course, you have the sloppily painted on big mouth and big teeth, which I think is fun. And I also think it's funny because he does in fact have a big mouth and big teeth, so I don't really know what the mask does. But you know, that's really for him to decide. If he's trying to intimidate his enemies, who am I to judge, you know? And so, coming down here, we now have the orange skin that is molded plastic there. It does have a very, very nice little texture on there to give him his scales. On the front here, this is a painted piece. Again, it's that sort of skin tone where he does have the ridges of the front of his turtle shell. And like most cartoon turtle characters, this is just planted right there on the front of his chest. It doesn't actually connect to the back piece, but again, that's none of my business. That's the way God made him. So anyway, we do have these wristbands, like I do, which was absolutely not intentional, but I guess it worked out that way. He does have his four-fingered hand there, like any self-respecting cartoon character, And like any self-respecting bad guy, it does come equipped with a claw on each finger, and all of those are going to be painted on in that flesh tone right there. That all moves down into the feet. He does not have any sort of black bands on the feet, but he does have a claw on each toe. We are now down to 3 digits instead of the 4. And bringing it back around to the back, as I mentioned before, he does have his trademark spiny turtle shell that is in a green plastic, and there are paint apps on here, mostly in that skin tone. You're going to have the ridge around the turtle shell on the outside, as well as all of the spines or spikes. They're all going to be in that lighter peach color. And we also do have an orange ring around each of those. And bringing us finally to the nice orange tail there, which is also decked out in that texture, giving it all of its little scales, making sure that we know that he is in fact a Bowser of the junior variety. So now that we've taken a look at that, let's move on to his one accessory, and that is his weapon of choice here, which is this paintbrush. Now this is a really nice piece. It appears to me to be in this silver plastic right here, and pretty much everything else is a paint app. You do have the blue there, you have some gold on the inside, you do have the standard Bowser Jr. emblem, which you will see time and time again in the Mario Party games. We do have some gold pieces right here, we do have gold stripes right there, we do have this nice brown-orange piece right down the middle, which shows you that it is, in fact, a wooden paintbrush, and we do have the silver down here, which has some gold detail lines in there, as well as a couple little dots for rivets. They do love their rivets. There are some up here. We've got a couple of spikes right here. There's a whole lot of really nice detail on there. And when you come to the tip here, you do have a very nice little spongy effect. And of course, we'll be seeing how that's used later, but this is in fact a usable paintbrush, at least to some degree. So I will put that right back there, and I will show you how it's meant to be used here in a minute. But first, let's get into the articulation on this little fellow right here. And there is quite a bit of articulation. It's really, really nice. He can't get a whole lot of movement as a result of his physical stature, but to the degree that he should be able to move, you could pretty much move him in any position that you'd like. Starting off right here with the head, he can look up and down. He can turn his head somewhat to the left and to the right. There is some stiffness there, but I do have a feeling that you could power through it a little bit. He has a pretty thick neck, which I think is kind of impeding some of that movement. But again, I'm sure that you could probably wrench it to one side or the other if you've got some place you're trying to make him look. He does have this really nice feature on the head. It is jointed up inside the skull, and that means that you can move it up or you can move it down, independent of whether you're trying to rock it back and forth. And so you could get him sort of with his head back a little bit, backing up, or down and forward. That's all very, very nice. Coming around now to the arms. And what we're going to see here is that he does have a range of motion that goes all the way around right there. He can move up pretty decently, right about so. He can move forward and backward at the elbow there. It is not double jointed. He can only go about so far. He can come all the way back like that. And his hand will turn all the way around. He doesn't appear to have a rocker inside the hand, so it won't move forward too much at the wrist, but he does have these fingers that will open and they will close. That will lock around that paintbrush there, and it'll also give you sort of a hand out or a hand closed fist sort of an option. move him right back down there. Of course, his left hand is going to be the same as the right, so there's no point in looking at that. Over here, we do have his legs. His legs will move out about that far. Not too great. Can't do much of a split, but he can do a little bit. He moves it back down like so. He can move his leg up, but since it's jointed into this very round little belly he has, it will not move straight up and down. It is always going to move at a bit of a curve off to the left or to the right, depending on what leg you're talking about. He can turn his foot from left to right. He can turn it, in fact, all the way around, but he doesn't have too much. No, we've got a little bit. He does have a little joint in his knee. It's about the jankiest part on this figure, because if you see here, you can see that when he moves his kneecap splits open, and he's got this really big cut right in here. It's not particularly very attractive, but it is the only piece on here that really seems to have that problem. That joint is a little stiff, and there, like I said, there is not a whole lot you can do with it, but you can still get him into pretty nice positions. And like a lot of my vehicle drivers, he will almost certainly never come out of the clown car, so I'll get him where I want him just by positioning his hands. And coming around to the back, it appears as though there's a turn on the tail. I can feel it rocking a little back and forth, but it really doesn't want to move. So you don't get a whole lot of action on the tail, but then again, some mileage may vary. It may turn out that you buy one and his tail's flinging around left and right, but in my case, his doesn't move around too much back there. It is extremely stiff. But there is a cut along there, and I can feel it moving a little bit, so my guess is it's intended to move, but I'm not going to futz with it too much in front of the camera here. So anyway, that is the figure and his articulation. Although I do, as promised, have one more thing to show you before I move on, and that is these water-activated decals here. Now, as you can see, I haven't tried them out at all, so we are learning together, my friends. But I did bring myself a nice little cup of water here. So let's find out if/how well these little friends work. I'm going to dip this guy right in here like so. Get this guy nice and juicy for you, friends, here on Playing With Myself. And we will go ahead and we'll pick one of these guys. I see that he's got the little jagged mouth right there from his bandana, so let's color that guy in and see how well she does. Brush. Little paintbrush right there. A boopity boop boop, a boop, a boop, a boop. Not sure if you guys know this or not, but I am a bit of an artist myself. So there we go. I'll put that right back in there. It floats really nicely. And there you go. Nice little red and black decal there that I could go ahead and stick on this thing if I wanted to ruin my toy, which I don't. But it goes on all right. One little part right there really didn't take the water, but it's supposed to look messy to begin with, so I think that just adds to the charm. Anyway, I will put that little friend right back there. I will show you all of this one more time, and then we're going to go ahead and move on to some comparisons. All right, time for some comparisons. And up first, here he is with Jack Black himself, Big Daddy Bowser right here. And they both look pretty nice together. I think that's a pretty good look. Get him out there. Up next, we have the ever lovely and achingly kidnappable Princess Peach right here. And let's get her out of harm's way and move her back here. And finally, we do have the two plumbers themselves, Super Mario right there, and Super Luigi right there, come to defeat his nefarious plans against the Mushroom Kingdom. Anyway, that's the vehicle, that's the figure, and that was my review. Thanks for joining us. Be sure to join us next time when I'll be playing with myself. And I hope you all enjoyed playing with yourselves too. See you real soon. Thanks again for playing. If you like what you see, you know what to do. Like, share, subscribe, hit the bell notification so that you don't miss any more of our wacky content. See you again soon.